he died before he could sail it. This is Luxora, where luxury isn't just shown, it's revealed. There is a sentence that Steve Jobs said to his biographer Walter Isaacson during the final years of his life. While Venus was still being built, while the glass walls were still being engineered, while Feadship's craftspeople were still working through the details of a vessel whose construction would outlast its owner. He said, "I know that it's possible I will die and leave Laurene with a half-built boat, but I have to keep going on it. If I don't, it's an admission that I'm about to die." He kept going. Venus was completed in October 2012. Jobs had been dead for a year. That sentence, the most personal thing Jobs ever said about any object he helped create, tells you something essential about what Venus is. It is not a super yacht in the conventional sense. It is not the expression of a man who had made enough money to want the largest or the most expensive or the most powerful vessel available. It is the expression of a man who spent his entire life designing objects that disappeared into their own purpose, that hid their engineering so completely that the experience of using them felt effortless, inevitable, like the thing could not have been any other way. Venus is the final object that man created, and it is the only one of his creations he never touched. The story begins not with a yacht, but with a phone call. Philippe Starck, the French designer whose work spans hotels, furniture, motorcycles, and sailing yacht A for Andrei Melnichenko, received a call from Steve Jobs. The question was simple: would you like to make a boat? Starck said yes, and from that moment the two men entered what Starck would later describe as forming a single brain with 4 lobes, a creative partnership in which the boundaries between one person's ideas and the other's became, over the years of the design process, impossible to locate. Jobs brought his philosophy of dematerialisation, the principle that the best design is design that disappears, that reveals only the experience and conceals the mechanism. Starck brought his own vocabulary of elegance through minimum. The two converged over meetings and revisions in the specific pressure of a client who was also a designer and who would accept nothing that did not meet the standard he had applied to every object Apple ever made. The result, constructed by Feadship at their Koninklijke de Vries yard in Aalsmeer, the Netherlands, beginning in 2009, is 78.2 meters of aluminium, one of the few super yachts of this scale constructed from aluminium throughout, hull and superstructure both, a choice that makes her significantly lighter and faster than a steel equivalent, and that gives the vessel a relationship to light that steel cannot replicate. She is 11.8 meters in beam. Her draft is a shallow 3 meters, allowing access to anchorages that a deeper vessel cannot reach. Her 2 MTU engines push her to a top speed of 20.5 knots, exceptional for a vessel of her displacement and philosophy. At 1,876 gross tons, she is not large by the standards of the yachts Luxora has documented. But gross tonnage, in Venus's case, is the wrong measure entirely, because what Venus does with her 78 meters is unlike what any other 78-meter vessel has ever done. The exterior is the first thing that stops people. Silver paint, stainless steel details, and a line of large rectangular windows running from the bow to just past amidships at the waterline. Not port lights, not conventional cabin windows, but full panels of structural glass that form the primary visual language of the vessel's profile. The superstructure is low-slung to the point of appearing horizontal. The stern is flat and squared in a way that was, at the time of delivery, unlike anything in the superyacht industry. The bow is an axe bow, sharp, penetrating, functional. There is no curve on this vessel that does not have a reason. There is no detail that was included because it was available or conventional. Jobs reviewed every element and asked in the same terms he applied to every Apple product. The interior was designed by Starck in close collaboration with Jobs, and In the final months before Jobs' death in October 2011, with Jony Ive, Apple's chief design officer and the man most responsible for the visual language of every Apple product from the iMac through to the iPhone. The interior details that have been confirmed publicly are sparse because Venus has never been open to photography or media access in any meaningful way. What is known, the bridge, the captain's control room, is equipped with 7 27-inch iMacs as its primary instrumentation. The computers are the same machines that Jobs' company made for consumers, running the same software. The cabins are 40 feet long, 12 meters, with 10-foot-high window panels that bring the ocean into the private space of the guest in a way that conventional port lights cannot approach. There is a jacuzzi, there is a beach club, there is a philosophy running through every space that Starck articulated in a single phrase. This is what Venus does, at a scale and in a material, aluminium, glass, open water, that no Apple product has ever had to contend with. Jobs continued working on Venus through his illness. The project slowed at times when his health made sustained engagement impossible, but he returned to it consistently in the years between 2008, when the project began in earnest, and 2011 when he died. The people who worked on the vessel, the designers, the engineers at Feadship, the specialists at Eckersley O'Callaghan, describe his involvement as meticulous and demanding in the precise way that his involvement in every Apple product was meticulous and demanding. He knew what he wanted. He knew when what he was presented with was not it. And he worked through the revisions until the distance between what existed and what he had imagined was closed. The workers who completed the project after his death each received a specially engraved iPod Shuffle from the Jobs family, a thank you note alongside it, acknowledging their hard work and craftsmanship. The gesture was personal in the way that everything about Venus is personal. This was not a commission delegated to a project manager. This was a man's final object. Venus represents something that sits outside the usual categories by which superyachts are understood. She is not the most technologically extreme vessel in this catalog. She is not the largest, not the fastest, not the most volumetrically significant. She is the vessel that was designed by a man who spent his entire career removing everything unnecessary from every object he touched, applied to a form, the superyacht, that typically accumulates features rather than removing them. She is the product of a mind that could not turn off its design instinct, even when that instinct was operating in the presence of a terminal diagnosis. She is the final completed work of Steve Jobs, and she is the only one of his completed works that he never used. Jobs said he had to keep going on it. If he stopped, it was an admission. He kept going. Venus exists because of that refusal, and she sails every year in the waters of Australia and the Mediterranean, carrying within her aluminium hull and her 15 tons of glass walls and her 7 iMac bridge instruments, the complete, uncompromised vision of a man who understood, perhaps better than anyone who has ever lived, that the best design is the design that disappears, leaving only the experience of something that could not have been any other way. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing content.